Tonight is because we admire and love Kate Plumb, who is a Sag Harbor-based astrologer, and she has been studying astrology since 1969 after she went for a consultation with a local astrologer in Brooklyn Heights. She is both self-taught and has had the privilege of studying with some of the most notable astrologers in the field, and she is certified by a national organization. She writes for an astrological magazine, has a blog, teaches annually, and sees clients in her home in Sag Harbor. I think she is maybe going to put a sheet out for those of you who might be interested in getting her blog, keeping in touch, so forth. We won't collect it, but she will, so if you're interested in that, just take a look and we'll put it down there somewhere. Anyway, we'll get started. Please welcome Kate Plumb.
Want to keep in touch with me or know I don't have your email already, please feel free to sign that. Put this over here. Pass it around. Because I'm going to be starting intro classes, I think, next year, 2019, right? That's next year. That's what we're talking about. Anyway, let's get started on tonight's presentation. I'm very pleased to be here with you all. I'm very pleased and grateful to the library, to Ken and her, Yvette and her crew, and for inviting me this year. And this is I'm focusing this time on each sign of the zodiac. And in order to get started, let's see, I wanted to just give a little primer on what we're doing here, because it can be very ungrounded. I have 4 planets in Capricorn. I like to be practical. So this is not crazy nonsense. This is actually based on planetary activity. And if I can keep on this. And this is a picture. This is obviously a fantasy. We know that the sun is in the center, and they are the planets, and plus the moon, orbiting around the sun. And this is the zodiacal belt. It's the part of the constellations in order that are the backdrop of this movement. Okay? Now, there are certain planets, like Mercury, the most interior planet, that moves around all 12 signs, because when Mercury in this position, this is not currently fall equinox 2012, but when from the Earth's point of view, and we have to do everything from the Earth's point of view. We can't go out to Jupiter and figure out what things are doing. So in astrology, we change perspective. You have to kind of go from astrology to astronomy. We have to keep the way things are, the way they appear in the sky is what we are relating to and what we're using. So from the Earth's perspective, you see that Mercury is the most interior. Mercury is appearing in front of Libra. This is the part of the zodiac above, the part of the constellations. You know, there's stars all over the place. Over here, but there are certain signs of the zodiac, which is the backdrop. It's like a theater backdrop for all the movement of the planets. Now, they all in our solar system, I don't even know if it's a galaxy, but in our solar system, all of the planets orbit around and orbit in front of. With this point of view, Mars would be in front of the sign Scorpio. Now, Mercury moves very, very quickly around the sun, less than a year, very quickly around the sun. The next is Venus. Venus takes about a year to go around the sun, and you have the moon going around the Earth, and that's a month. And then your Earth is moving around, its orbit around the sun is 365 and a quarter days. And then the next planet out is Mars. Mars takes 2.5 years to go around, orbiting around. Jupiter is the biggest planet in our solar system, and that takes 12 years. It takes 1 year in each sign. So Jupiter will stay in Gemini for 1 year, then it moves to Cancer, and then it goes to Leo, and then it goes to Virgo. They're orbiting around the sun, and they go from, all of the planets do this, they go from one sign to the next. And this sequence, the planets are doing different things at different speeds, but the signs stay the same. They're the fixed stars. They stay the same. But the planets are called wanderers. That's one of the meanings of the word planet. Well, they wander. And no moment in time is exactly alike. So after Venus, about a year, she's our sister. You know, Earth is between Venus on the inside and Mars on the outside. And then Jupiter. Saturn takes 29.5 years to go around the sun. Neptune is next, 57 years, I think. Uranus is 84 years to go around the sun. Neptune, what did I skip one? I went to Jupiter. Well, Mars, Jupiter. Saturn is 29.5 years. Uranus is 84 years. 84 years it takes to go around the sun. Neptune is 157 years to go around the sun, and Pluto finally is 250 years to go around the sun. Neptune is, yes, 100 something like that. Is it roughly? Don't quote me on that one, but yeah, it's beyond anybody's lifetime, and no one has Neptune come back to where it was when you were born, because it takes 157 years for it to go around. Most people who lived to 84, everybody who lives to 84, Uranus will come around again to where it was when you were born. But it's every planet's interior of Uranus will. Jupiter will come around every 12 years. It'll come around. So when I better keep moving here. And this is another picture of the same thing from our point of view. This is now, instead of just the words, we have the zodiacal belt, the actual constellations. But it's the same thing. Earth is moving around the sun, and we are here, and from this point of view, we see the sun in front of Cancer. Now, we know the sun is not actually moving, but appearance-wise, we see the sun rise in the east and set in the west. And so that's because we live on Earth. So this is just a synopsis for each sign this year, what's going on generally, because we're really focusing on each individual sign in this presentation. 2019 is the last year before we have three major. We are waiting for the three conjunctions of Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter in 2020. And as I just mentioned, Saturn's cycle around the sun, it takes 29.5 years. I don't know why I put 37 there, but Pluto's, yeah. Oh, when they each one have a different rate of speed going around the sun, and this would be very, very different. The last time, they're coming together in 2020. So what happens when I say that this is the last, 2019 then, is the last year before we have a new beginning, a new start, and it's in the sign Capricorn. Like we have a new moon every month, the sun and moon together. There's new beginnings. When planets come together, it's a new start. And the last time that these three planets, Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter, were together in Capricorn was 1284. It's a very rare thing. And the rarer planetary activity comes together, the more outstanding it is, the more noticeable it is. And that said, we're not there yet, okay? We're at 2020, they start forming this conjunction it would be, looking back here, you would have in front of Capricorn, Pluto would be up here, Jupiter would be up here in Capricorn, and Saturn moved up to here in Capricorn. You would see them, they would see in different rings, but they would all be in front of Capricorn. Does that make, can you follow that? Good. So in synopsis, whatever projects or relationships or activity patterns that you are in now that have been central, they're going to be entering a new phase in 2020, particularly where Capricorn is in your chart. And to some extent, the three other cardinal signs, Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn. Those are the cardinal signs. They begin the spring, summer, fall, and winter. And when those three planets come together in Capricorn, they're directly affecting all of those other three signs. But the most important thing is the Capricorn. So it will be an intense year, especially in the beginning for this year, because Mars, right away on New Year's Eve, moves into Aries. And it's going to be quite a jolt for the year, for everybody, because we're going to notice Mars changing signs and moving into the first sign of the zodiac after having been in Pisces, the last sign. We'll go into that a little bit more. But it's very important that you proceed in these times, is to not care too much about or not think that any external events are long-lasting. Because we are at the end of the cycles, the end of times. Things are ending, although we think, and some people think, that things are just beginning. But in reality, if you study astrology, and that's what we're here to the astrology, what the planets are saying is what's going to happen. And it's an aid for us to look at that, and know that there's some other picture, grander picture, that we cannot see that's actually occurring. So we know that something else is on the horizon. And it's important to remember that. It's important not to get too hung up in any exterior events and thinking that they're long-lasting. Because we're trying to birth a new regime. Capricorn is institutions, it's corporations, it's government, it's systems, it's big social, and when those three planets line up in Capricorn, it speaks to whole different organizations, how these institutions and organizations are how we're going to be governed, really, because it rules that. The last time that Pluto and Saturn were in Capricorn was early 1518, right after Martin Luther put on his 95 Thesis on the door of the cathedral in Wittenberg. And that was October 31st, 1517. We just passed the 500th anniversary of that. Now, when he did that, because he was a very distraught and devout monk, but he could not understand about the indulgences that the Catholic Church was extracting money from all these poor people to build a brand new St. Peter's. And he didn't find any of it in the Bible. And, you know, he was only really doing it out of the the goodness of his heart. He was tormented terribly. There's a wonderful new biography about Martin Luther, and he's really very, he's a wonderful figure. He really is. He really started the whole modern age, because he began the understanding of the consciousness, the individual consciousness was important. We didn't have to take authority from the outside of the church. We had our own individual, what we thought was important now. Pardon? Yeah, or morality. No, but I'll get to you at the end. So he didn't realize what he was doing at the time, but he started the Protestant Reformation. He completely overhauled all of Europe, all of the wars, everything that happened over one person. And because Capricorn, the church is an institution and supposed to stay forever. But when Pluto and Saturn came into Capricorn, Pluto rules evolutions and Saturn rules structures in our lives. And when they came together, somehow the time was right, and that was diminished, right? The church was never the same. So a key for understanding 2019 also is to take care of one another. It's going to be very, very important to, if you have a decision to make about whether you have to stay home and take care of a loved one or go to work or something, it's going to be very important for us to keep our relations with each other and take care of one another, nurture one another, not worry about the external world so much. That's overall for every sign. Those who have taken too much power will be put in their place, because Capricorn and Pluto and Saturn in Capricorn is exacting, and you get rewards. You get your rewards if you've been worked hard and taken responsibility. You get rewards, and if you have not, if you've been abused your power, if there's a shift. Pluto rules power, and Saturn rules the end of certain power structures. But remember, this is 2019. It's not 2020. So. We are in this wonderful Sagittarian time of year, because Jupiter went into Sagittarius November 6th, and we're full of hope. That was after the elections, and I don't mean political about that, but certainly things were different after that election in terms of maybe more hope. Maybe it's nothing political wise, but something was a sea change after that election. So there's a sense of hope now, but. Yes, you are part of what needs to happen to replace what we have, and that's very important. You would not be sitting here in Rogers Memorial Library at this moment if you didn't belong at this time frame, and that you didn't have a contribution to make. And it's very important that we all take on that, take on board that concept, just like Martin Luther did. That okay, if you've got it's something inside you, a little says I better do this, and you ignore it, that doesn't help humanity. And we're all really part of the changes that are going to occur. If we only talk the negative and only talk about what awful things are or how bad things are, we would not be able to hold on to what we actually want to manifest. And that's very important to keep it the positive. And that's what's so nice about Sagittarius, because the Sagittarius is naturally optimistic and future-oriented, and there's a lot of things. So it's the year of the pig. We had the year 2017 was the year of the rooster, and that was all the rooster. We had one particular very strong rooster, and then we had the year of the dog last year, and the dog is we had the dog. This doesn't begin to obviously till February, but the Chinese, it's a really they make nice analogies here. Remember the dog, and he's very he's waiting, faithful and loyal, but he's always anticipating that something horrible is going to happen, and that's what 2018 was about. And now we move into the year of the pig, and the pig is auspicious, gives her saint-like generosity and trustworthiness, and just a general. Generality, because pig is he likes to eat. Yeah, there's a happiness to a pig. Okay, Aries Sun or Aries Rising. Who in here is an Aries, or who in here knows their Aries? What their rising sign is? That's the sign that was rising on the eastern horizon. Blair, you know?
I know, because you told me. Aries Rising.
You have Aries Rising? Okay. Anybody? I'm going to talk. Because.
But that is my birth month. That's not my son's.
No,
but somebody does. We do have an Aries in here, I think.
Oh, Aries, good. So this is Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. The first sign of the zodiac, Aries, and you can see the horns of the ram. He's head. He's butting his head every place. I'm going to have to go through these quickly. Here's just a little synopsis of an Aries. No nonsense attitude, aggressive and feisty, romantic, enthusiastic, slightly childlike. Make sure to take care of our own needs first. If you know, your rising sign is quite important actually. And if you don't know it, I would suggest that you go onto astro.com. There's a free service and you put your date, time, and place of birth, and you can get your rising sign. Because that's really your perspective. It's really holding 85% of who you are. It's the steering wheel. You can get something, at knowing your sun sign, but your rising sign is very important. Astro.com. ASTRO. So, if many of you Aries know, Sun in Aries, you've had Uranus, the disruptor, in your sign since June of 2010. And if you look back on your life on these past 7 years, you will awaken to the fact that, jeepers, what I'm doing, the men in my life, everything has been disrupted and changed. Now, it wouldn't have happened every moment of all those 7 years. It depends on where your sun is. But the good news is that Uranus, the disruptor, the rebel rouser, is leaving March 7th, going into Taurus. It's going to be Taurus's time to be upset. So if you look back then, whatever final adjustments you still need to be made will be made if you're born later on in Aries, those last 3 or 4 days of Aries. You're still getting Uranus on your sun. That's why the January and February will still be a little bit turmoilish. If anybody, if you're over 84 years old, the last time Uranus was in Aries was 1928 to 1935. And that's 84 years. So in general for the Aries, there could be some professional peaks this year, power shifts in your career or your position in society this year. And if you resign, or you resigned a position, or you were shuttled out of a position, then you might be, that you were enjoying, either towards the end of the year, there might be other, 2019, there might be other opportunities for you, and you understand why you were shifted out of the one position this year. And this really pertains right now. This is what Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter at the end of the year are in your 10th house of career, your reputation, your status. So Jupiter is offering a supportive trine to you, November 8th. Jupiter is supporting you in understanding what your belief systems are, so that you make sure that what you're doing for a living is in accord with the way you believe what life is about. So Mars is in Aries from December 31st. That's what I was saying in the beginning about the New Year's Eve night. There's going to be quite, a tumultuous, probably something rousing, particularly for Aries, because Mars planet moves into Aries. I put on here this polar plunge. You always have the January 1st, people go out in the icy cold water. It's a perfect thing to do. Mars's energy, it gets you up, so you go in the icy water, that's a kind of a good activity. When you have Mars in Aries, you're going to need activity. Or else it becomes argumentative and you get to fights, and violence can be with Mars as well. And you can remember maybe that Mars was retrograde in all last summer, and was moving very slowly and very backwards. It was very backwards last summer, a lot of frustrations for Aries last summer, and but things are going to be a little bit more speedy move forward. The only caution is to be not moving too aggressively, upsetting another person, or harming yourself by working out too much. And this beginning of the year, from December 31st to February 15th, could be a time of the year when those career changes are made. That's kind of a little piece about Aries. Get the hell out of my way. A little picture. I tried to put a picture on every page so that you could look, make some connection to pictures, because words sometimes I skim over them. So February 12th is, there's a Uranus-Mars conjunction that day, and there's a kind of a sudden action. That's a day to watch for Aries. This is for Aries, still Aries. So every time Mars changes signs, you change your direction, you change your work. Mars moves into Taurus February 14th. That's a change. So that would be a time to notice that for Aries rising people. This will be a time when you maybe think about your income or your possessions, or how many possessions do I have, or your income, and I want to make adjustments there. I want to increase my income. March 31st, Mars is into Gemini. This is the time to take a trip between March 31st and May 15th. You want to maybe perhaps take a new course of study. May 15th, your home life and your land or your property becomes important. You could have to make renovations in the home or something like that, or work with your parents or an old elder person to do, in the home. And I put this picture up here because this kind of shows Here's Mars here, and it would travel through Scorpio, through Sagittarius, through Capricorn, and that's kind of helps you see that the Mars is in front of the zodiac belt that has the stars in it. Slightly different than the constellations. Okay, July 1st, Mars moves into Leo, and time for a month of personal creativity and activities with children. And August 18th, Mars into Virgo, and this is where your work is important and the health and daily regime. You might discover some kind of ailment that you have to correct, and that manifests as, oh, I'm going to do something new, a new diet, or a new exercise program. October 4th, relationships come into focus. You make efforts to improve your communication with your partner or your business partners. November 19th, Mars is in Scorpio, so joint finances become important. You have to work on your matters of taxes, inheritances, legacies, insurance. Taurus. Do we have Taurus in the room? Okay, Taurus. So this is Taurus. You know, you can see the difference between the Aries and the Taurus. Here's the constellation of Taurus, what it looks like, and here's the symbol for it in the chart. Dependable, persistent, loyal, patient, generous, stubborn. And the negative, laziness, possessive, materialistic, self-indulging. I don't know if anybody can relate to some of we all have a little bit each. So the big news for Taurus is here comes the planet, the disruptor. Uranus is entering your sign March 7th and will remain until April of 2026.
Wow.
Sounds like a long way away, but you know, yeah, 6-7 years, so about that time. So Taurus is symbolized by the bull here, and this was a picture obviously done right. The little girl came into that. You know, someone put that up. I think it was right before the Me Too movement. Did that happen? And the Wall Street people didn't like it, the men, but she's still there as far as I know. Oh, she's being moved. Well, I would call this a perfect example of Uranus in Taurus, because here's the bull, and here's the disruptor, this little girl. Because Taurus doesn't like to move. If you know of Taurus, they're very happy where they are. There is, you know, the age of Taurus built the pyramids. The pyramids are still with us. That's, you know, that's how Taurus wants to keep things the way they are. But Uranus is the opposite of that. Uranus works better in Aries because Aries is a Martian sign and is a fiery sign, and I can change my identity. I can fix this up. But when you get to Taurus, this is about property, and it's about my possessions, and it's about the values of food and agriculture and the earth. And those things don't get disrupted very easily, and when they do, there's a cataclysmic kind of events. The last time Uranus was in Taurus was 1935 to 42, when FDR was president, and this whole New Deal, the social reforms, Hitler ran over Europe, upsetting and destroying the landscape of the food production. Boundaries, the earth boundaries changed after the war. This was Uranus, disruptor in Taurus, an earth sign. So Uranus is a sign is uncomfortable because Taurus likes stability and resists change. So with this, it will affect all of us. Most definitely Tauruses and Scorpios and Leos and Aquarius, all the fixed signs. But most directly the Taurus. But it is really about us coming to terms with the values. Taurus is your values. What do you find that's important? Is it your money? Is it your flower garden? You know, what do we? Is it food production? Is it you know, where we're putting our values? And that's what's going to get disrupted over the next 7 years. We're going to see things differently. The beginning of the year is quieter before Uranus enters Taurus on the 7th. The good news of Taurus is that the heavy planets, Pluto, Saturn, and later in the year Jupiter, are supporting your area from the area of life that governs your philosophy. So it's important for Tauruses, Taurus rising people, to really come to terms with their philosophy of life, their meaning of life, their search for God. What's my spiritual approach to life? You know, can I take another course? A philosophy course. What have I always wanted to do? Can I extend myself and take responsibility for my unmaterialistic life? You know, Taurus likes to you know, watch the stock market, and you know, that's about all there is. So but Uranus comes around, and with Pluto and Saturn up there in the ninth house of understanding what your philosophy is, what's driving your life. But it should be a smoother acceptance of transitions and endings with Taurus. And gains should be, you can make gains. Once you make those changes, you can, yeah, that's what I said, additional education as well as a preparation for 2020. Because your philosophy of life is going to lead you into another area of life probably by 2020 and beyond. That's a beautiful image of Taurus also. It has all the characteristics. Opportunity, Neptune is making a nice supportive aspect to Taurus in April, since April 2011, and will be until it leaves Pisces for Aries in 2026. Was born between May 5th and 9th of any year. Is that anybody here? Born May 5th to May 9th? Will especially feel the rays of spirituality, sensitivity, and compassion this year. There's an opportunity now to become less materialistic. It would also heighten your need to escape something, either into the arts, music, or spiritual discipline, or some kind of addictive behavior. Neptune is making, there's a sensitivity that comes with Neptune. There's a, going to a seance is kind of a Neptunian kind of thing, because you can't see what's happening. And, but you know it's happening. And that kind of the event is maybe upsetting at first for Tauruses, but it's actually the way humanity, we need to proceed. So the ruler is Venus, Taurus, and this is the pattern in the sky that Venus makes as she orbits around the sun. She makes this, all the planets make patterns in the sky. I mean, it looks like a flower. That's what's going on in the sky. I mean, it's amazing. So we find that because Taurus is ruled by Venus, when Venus changes sign, she goes retrograde sometimes. That's the loop. That's identified as the loop, when she's changing her orientation to the sun. So.
Is that the retrograde means that it's going past the Earth?
It apparently is, from our perspective. It's actually making a loop. It's changing from one side of the sun to the other. It changes declination. It goes higher and lower. And that's exactly what it means. It doesn't, no planet stops at the stop sign and goes the other direction. It's just that from our appearances, from Earth's appearance, it's an optical illusion. It's like when you have two trains and you're coming up into a train station and one's slowing down and you're going faster, and the train next to you is actually slowing down and it looks like it's going backwards. Yeah. So the good news for Taurus is that Venus was going retrograde in the fall of last year. So if your love life and your money got kind of messed up in the fall of last year, Venus is not going to go retrograde in 2019. So that is something to look forward to. Venus will go retrograde every about 2 years, something like that. But there might have been something occurred that happened from October to November this year, that 2018, that really changed your values. Something that happened, maybe an event at work or something that you realized, maybe you're with a group of people that you really do not want to be with. And it's that honesty, it's that honesty that and the courage it takes to make those appropriate changes. But this new insight that should have come in October or November, you can use in 2019. So Venus starts the year in Scorpio, and it's opposite sign, and you have to take into account your partner. January 8th moves into Sag. Oh, good. You take a trip, or virtual or real, January 8th. So if you make a note of anything, if you understand anything about astrology, you watch and understand what your planetary ruler is doing, okay? If it's going retrograde, you're aware of that. Okay, I'm not going forward right now, I'm going to go backwards. And it's comforting to know, okay, Venus is going to, like last fall, Venus was going retrograde. And you think it's going to be forever, but it's not. Things straighten out. But when you know that ahead of time, it's so helpful January 8th for Venus for Taurus, and this will be true of Libra also, because Libra is also ruled by Venus, but it won't be happening to you in the same department of life. But January 8th, and this beautiful rendezvous of Venus and Jupiter, and January 22nd, that's going to be, your joint finances are highlighted, maybe you'll earn extra bonuses, or something occurs with your significant other financial-wise. But there can be overspending and fanaticism when Venus and Jupiter get together. So here's Venus on February 3rd, enters Capricorn. It makes a nice aspect to Taurus. You know, when your ruler Venus goes into an earth sign and you are an earth sign, oh, you just feel so validated. It feels so confirming. March 1st, Venus enters Aquarius in your 10th house of career and reputation. This is the area, your career, house of career, your reputation, your status in society. You know, when you get married or divorced, your status changes in society, even today. I mean, you can say it doesn't, but it really does today. And even today, I mean, at least for my generation. But so this area, March 1st, will be the one that'll be the new focus for you in 2021. So that you'll have kind of inklings in 2019, between March 1st and March 26th, about you know, what your greater social responsibility is as a Taurus. March 26th, Venus enters Pisces. Oh, your 11th, this is friends and hopes and wishes, and you have a new wonderful friend that you can play music together or something. April 20th, Venus enters Aries in your 12th house. And this is the time to take a little spiritual retreat from April 20th to May 15th. Visit a pastor or your therapist during that time is suggested. May 15th, Venus enters Taurus, and your sense of self-worth blossoms after you spent this month before, or 6 weeks before, in some kind of spiritual retreat, and you've gone inside and aligned yourself better with what your own heart is telling you. May 15th, Venus is Taurus. June 8th is Gemini, and you focus on your income and your possessions. And you know, maybe the old paper clutter has got to go. You can't stand it anymore. July 3rd, Cancer. Venus moves to Cancer, and your activity. You want to be surrounded by your siblings, your neighbors. You want to find self-expression. You know, that you're showing enough care for them, that you're, you know, sympathetic with situations in your immediate environment. July 27th, the home front. Maybe you're barbecuing at home, have a picnic at the beach with the family. Home becomes important then. August 21st, Venus enters Virgo. 5th house of children, creativity. This is Venus and the Sun. Another picture of the diagram that they make. September 14th, Venus moves into Libra in your 6th house of work and service. After all the fun you've had over the summer, it's time to get your routine back into balance. That's the 6th house is the work and service and a health regime, and you have to take care of your pets and the mundane parts of life. October 8th, Venus moves quickly. Now, she moved very slowly last year because she was retrograde for a long time. She stayed in the sign for a long time. So this year is very much different. Things are going to speed up for you Tauruses. October 8th, Venus moves into Scorpio in your 7th house of partnerships. That means that you want to be with your lover and your husband. November 1st, Venus moves into Sagittarius in your 8th house. That means, again, you're going to be on the resources that you kind of get with your partner and figure out what the best use of your assets and your resources is. November 25th, Venus goes into Capricorn. See if you can take a trip this month to broaden your horizons. December 20th, Venus goes into Aquarius, where it was in March. Kind of it's come around again. And another chance to reevaluate your reputation or career, maybe joining with others whose company you feel part of and are recognized as such. Gemini. Or Gemini rising. 2 people Gemini. So Gemini.
Yeah. I'm Gemini rising.
Good. She's a librarian. She's Gemini rising.
I'm actually not a librarian, but...
Oh, I'm sorry, but you're working in a library.
Yes, I do.
That's right. A library, Gemini's books. It's about books. It's about information.
Reading. I read them.
Yeah. I have Gemini rising. I mean, it's not so... Positive qualities: bright, admired, adaptable, youthful, rational thinker, fashionable, flexible, amusing, well-informed, chatty, quick, lively, flexible, and content. Negative: conflicting, tentative, indecisive, persuasive, anxious, impulsive, uneasy, dishonest, and fidgety. It's kind of cute, these things. I mean, you can go on and on, but. So, there's a picture of Mercury's orbit. You can see that Mercury gets closer to the sun, and then he gets closer to the sun, and then moves farther away, closer. It's nowhere near like that beautiful flower that Venus makes. It's completely erratic, because Gemini can go, they want to be in two different places. So are they not dealing with Uranus and the Aries and Taurus up here? Watching the effects of Neptune, especially June 5th to 9th birthdays any year. This will be especially sensitive. You're sensitive, Neptune is having an effect on you. If you know of anybody born June 5th to 9th, dealing with addiction problems or artistic. Planets have a range of how they're going to actually manifest. As a child or as a young adult, I was, addicted. I was food addicted. I was addicted to people, men, or boys, situations. I am an addict. You're always an addict. But as you age and mature, you move out, and now I have a meditation practice. Okay, so this is the way Neptune works in all of our lives. You change the level at which is operating, and that's totally in each of ours purview to decide what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. You're going to succumb to the addictions and just keep going the same way and be in this fog, or am I going to pull myself up my bootstraps and get some help and control and put a balance back in my life? And those people, June 5th to 9th, are going to be dealing mostly with Neptune this year. Capricorn are affecting your 8th house of joint finances, legacy, and taxes. So the big guns in Capricorn, they're starting in 2020. We have Pluto and Saturn already there. So there's, this influence has been going on since 2018. It's nothing new about getting your financial house in order. Setting up a will, healthcare proxy, or living will would be advised. Because 8th house is death, and in a way you're really kind of preparing for that transition, no matter what sign you are. But you're thinking ahead. How am I going to live my, that old age, and how am I going to, how am I going to, my assets after I go, where are they going to go?
Is Capricorn the 8th house then?
This year, no. This year, because the big guns, the big planets in Capricorn are affecting that 8th house, and they have Pluto entered that 8th house of yours in 2008.
What is the 8th house?
Finances, joint finances.
Oh, it's not okay,
it symbolizes
okay,
it's.
I don't get it. Okay, I understand. Go ahead, sorry.
It's all right. A financial house in order. So it's coming to your joint finances, legacies, taxes. It's material, it's possessions of other people. If you have a strong, now you don't know this, I know that because you don't have your charts in your minds. But if you watch, if you think about what's been happening, if Gemini rising people and Geminis, I'm just pertaining to those people, okay? Geminis and Gemini rising, remember what happened in 2008 when Pluto entered your sign, and also in December of 2017 when Saturn entered the Capricorn house, that department of life. In astrology we set up a chart, and there's 12 departments of life, and planets are moving around, and they're moving from one sign to another sign, and that changes the department of life that's being affected. Pluto entered Capricorn in 2008, and there were major overhauls. The banking crisis occurred then. That's when they all, they were too big to fail and all that nonsense. But the little people really lost out a lot. Jupiter is in your opposite sign, Gemini, until December 3rd. Jupiter loves to be in Sagittarius. Hopes increase now for a year. Jupiter is rather heavy Scorpio. For Geminis, Gemini rising people, Jupiter in your opposite sign means relationships are where the hope and expansion comes from. You've had a year in 2018 when maybe your health and your job were protected. You were supported there. Your health was protected. Now the benefits are coming from your other people in your life. Take advantage of these. Good year to join a partnership. I'm going to try to go quickly here. So your ruler, Mercury, your ruler Gemini is Mercury. And it's very important, again, to notice when Mercury is retrograding, slowing down. This is what a planet does when they're going through the sky. And it goes here, and this section of the sky goes a little one way, goes the other way, so pretty much the same, 3 times it's gone through the same section of the sky. But knowing when this is happening, the Mercury retrograde periods are very good for getting a different approach. And you slow down. Mercury slows down. Don't go so quickly. Slow down. Restart. Rethink. March 5th to 28th in Pisces, it's going retrograde. Know when your ruler is going retrograde. If you're a Gemini or Gemini rising, just watch it. It's the way you'll understand astrology more than anything else if you watch your own chart. And know between March and 5th and 28th in Pisces, your 10th house of career and status in the community will be taking a back seat. You have to rethink that. Yeah?
So I'm Gemini rising, but my sun sign is Pisces. Does that make that even more?
If you're Gemini rising, this is more important for you, yes. Mercury.
But being Pisces as well, because it goes into Pisces, does that make it?
Yeah, well, you will. It'll affect more different areas of your, yes, it will. But for Geminis, it's actually the 10th house, which is your career and your status, because that's your Pisces house. Your sun must be in the 10th house, or whatever. Expect to rethink a position you are in or traveling. Expect some delays. You might let go of surrender to the flow and stop pushing yourself. I tell all my clients that are in sales, Mercury's a salesman. They're making deals. Mercury, he's fast. He moves quickly. Makes him a messenger. Puts 2 people together and they have a contract and everything. And, that's why sometimes there's snafus when Mercury's retrograde. But slow down. Don't push. If someone says no in the beginning of the retrograde period, there's more than a likely chance they're going to change their mind. Remember, Mercury was the only god that could go to leave Olympus and go into Hades because he's getting new information, and he came out unscathed. He went into the underground to get new information. So honor your planetary ruler, your planetary honor. Watch that. Know where that's happening. What's happening to it. He's the messenger. There might be information that you didn't have before this retrograde happened. And during this retrograde, you got a new piece of information and it saved your life and changed your life. July 7th to 31st, Mercury will be retrograde in Leo. This is the siblings, neighbors, your self-expression, and your truth will be up for rethinking. Oh, these affairs don't look very good right now with my neighbors. I'm having an argument with my neighbors, and I don't know the boundaries and stuff like that. And you understand, things are going to go fugazi between the 7th and 31st. And they're going to straighten out. Because you have Mercury going back and forth over the 3 areas. If things are awkward, they're going to change. You've got 3 times to go over the same area. Good time to do anything, the word prefix in it. 3rd time Mercury retrograde is October 31st to November 20th. Mercury is retrograde in Scorpio in your 6th house of work and health. This would mean that really you have to get your health regime and get your work, the service that you're doing for somebody else. It's really not your career so much. Some of us have careers and then we have jobs. And the 6th house is really your job. It's also your pets. People with strong 6th house have a real strong identity with their pets. And it's maybe sometimes there'll be things going backwards there. Renew your exercise program. That's water sign. This will be a month when you might get frustrated if you tried too hard to make a difference at work. It does not mean it might not work out, but it might take a few times. Gemini is willing to flitter from one thing to another, but in Scorpio, it has to go deeper. I put this up here so you could understand. Sunday is the sun's day. Monday is the moon's day. Tuesday is Mars's day. Mercury is Wednesday. Thursday is Jupiter's day. Look at that big Jupiter is. Venus is Friday, and Saturn is Saturday. So when we think about what we do on a day, Sunday is the time when we get together with our families, go to church. It's kind of a loose day. Monday is an affectionate day. Monday, I don't make any appointments on a Monday. It's the moon, things are changing, and I kind of just let things flow. The moon is the fastest moving. We call it a planet. It's not really a planet, but making new connections. Something else happens. keeping it flexible that day. And Mars Day would be a good day to do exercises. You know, exercise, Mars Day, that's a martial day. Mercury is your writing day. It's the time you make the communications, do communications. Thursday is Jupiter, that's the day that, you know, I can reach out and go beyond my normal sphere. I think big on Jupiter. Days, Venus Day is Friday. I have my affectionate, my relationships. I spend time with Friday night with my significant other. And Saturn is Saturday, work day. Do things around the house. Cancer. Cancer rules the stomach, you know. You can see it in here, right? Stomach. Here's the crab in the sky. Positive, negative, Cancer is dependable, romantic, creative, protective, compassionate, supportive, tenacious, persuasive, flamboyant, sensitive, shrewd, patriotic, family person, magnanimous, and the negative traits are touchy, temperamental, clingy, over-emotional, dull, indecisive, and self-pitying. Anybody here Cancer, Cancer rising? Can you identify with some of those characters?
Yes.
So the big news for Cancer, Cancer is one of the signs. The Pluto entered your house of relationships and husbands and partners and enemies since in 2008. And Pluto brings big shifts in power. So Pluto will remain in Capricorn, affecting this area of your chart until 2024. Who you want to be with and conditions surrounding partners or adversaries is slowly being transformed. Someone who is there is no longer there, or someone who wasn't there is there. This has been made more important in your life since last December when Saturn joined Pluto. Situations will be further along. There's opportunities coming in December of 2000 when they join up, but the possibilities open up in the end of this when Jupiter goes into Capricorn. Yeah. Current conditions, situations regarding your significant others are undergoing transformation. Oh, I love this. Leonardo da Vinci. This is really embodies Cancer. You know, Saint Anne with the Blessed Mother, with the Christ Child, with the Lamb. It's a protection. The North Node is in Cancer. Cancer is, that's what I said in the beginning. We really do have to take care of one another now. It's very important for these next 18 months or so that we watch out for one another and mother one another, mother people that you maybe would not like to mother. It's really going to be our saving grace. So the ruler is the moon. Past 2.5 days to go changes signs every 2.5 days. It takes a month to go around the whole zodiac when Pluto takes 250 years to go around. So the year starts off with the new moon, a solar eclipse, and we look for the full moons that are lunar eclipses. This is the area of the Earth that's going to be affected by the solar eclipse that starts. So it's sun and moon together, and it's a supercharged new moon in Capricorn, and again highlights your 7th house, Cancers. So that means that there will be maybe something going on with your partner, your husband, or your spouse, or maybe if you're involved, because 7th house is also open enemies. You know, when you're involved in lawsuits and things like that, that 7th house is also indicated here. But there's an eclipse, that means, there's something, the light switch is going off there. This also, January 6th, begins a part of the year, which is important for every sign to understand that there's forward, all the planets are moving forward. It's January 6th to March 5th. And don't procrastinate in January. Go, because all of the planets are moving forward. That means all departments of your life, all areas of your life are in forward motion. The Cancers would watch this full moon lunar eclipse on January 21st. Eclipses act like circuit breakers, bringing an overflow of energy down to Earth from both sides, because the Earth and the moon and the sun are lined up exactly, and there's a big electromagnetic pull. And that's why there are often earthquakes and earth changes around eclipses, because there's such a pull on the Earth. They seem to be interrupters of normal flow of events, eclipses. And because you're a Cancer, your ruler's the moon, and the lunar eclipse, the full moons, mean that your moon is getting eclipsed. That means sometimes there's something hidden that you didn't see, and the eclipse brings it out to light. And this January 21st lunar eclipse would affect the Cancers. July 2nd, there's a solar eclipse in Cancer. That's a new moon for you Cancers. Cancer, Capricorn are the two major hot tickets this 2019. They're where most of the energy is. The lunar, which is a moon, full moon, is on the 16th of July. This is a very strong eclipse. It's going to affect Chile. This one is in the July 2nd, affects Chile, and then there's a lunar one that's going to affect Africa. But it just means the shadow of the eclipse falls on certain. Remember, we had 2017, our Great American eclipse. The shadow fell all across the United States, and if anybody thinks that nothing's going on in the United States, they must be in a cave or something. Because if you watch the path of the eclipse from like North Carolina all the way up to Northern California and Washington, D.C., and all of that line from the floods and hurricanes in North Carolina and Florida and all of that area and then the fires. It's a physical manifestation of the shadow of an eclipse falls on a part of the earth, and that part of the earth is highlighted. There's stuff going on. There's tensions going on. I'm going to go quickly through this. Get to Leo. We started a little late, Ken. Leos. Positive qualities, prevailing, positive, bright, high-minded, determined, imposing, romantic, leader, generous, noble, cheery, imaginative, and amiable. Negative Leo, oppressive, overdramatic, prying, showing, obstinate, opinionated, proud, narrow-minded, big-headed, and snobbish. I hope that's not too insulting. They're lying? Oh, lions. Yeah, they're lions. That's exactly right. But they have hearts. Big hearts. The hearts are huge. Lions, the heart. Leo's getting a reprieve this year. The eclipses have left your sign, and whatever big changes occurred in your life the past 18 months are over. They're not in line with the Capricorn problems the Capricorn planets give. The solar eclipses will affect them. Cancers are affected by the lunar eclipses, and Leos by the solar eclipses. So you should know, as a Leo rising, you should know when the solar eclipses are occurring. We just went over that, but we can go back if we need to. But when Saturn and Jupiter move into Aquarius in December of 2021, Leos then are going to be affected by a big social change, Jupiter and Saturn. When they change out of Capricorn into Aquarius, we're moving into the Aquarian age, folks, and we really have to be aware of that. That's a real thing. So Jupiter has just entered Sagittarius, another fire sign bringing you support. This will take effect until December 3rd. Take advantage of that. Jupiter wants to increase and expand whatever it touches. It's a year for Leos to get bigger, explore, get a religion, or take a trip to an exotic place. Those late Leos born August 21st to 24th will be a receipt in the last excitement of Uranus finishing its 7-year passage in Aries. Late Leos. Any year, the August 21st to 24th birthdays are still getting the trine from Uranus and Aries. Expect to make necessary tweaks to your identity as Leos are ruled by the sun. There's no time period when you're a ruler. If you're a Cancer, it's Moon. Moon never goes retrograde. If you're a Leo, ruled by the sun, you never goes retrograde. So you have no excuse. The rest of us are suffering under all these retrograde periods. So Leos need to know when these solar eclipses are, so that they'll be aware. This would be in your 6th house of health and work, 1st January 6th. Work and pets. It's where you're doing service. In the old days, it was called the house of slavery. Because, and you can have flavor of many kinds. You can feel that you're a slave to your work. And if you have strong planets, a lot of planets in the 6th house. But there should be some surprising new beginnings in one of these areas. Also, it's ruled as the house of health. You can identify illnesses when you get a solar eclipse in your 6th house. Although what makes eclipses so powerful is their potential for disruption lasts for at least a year. So even if you do not notice anything on the day of the eclipse, it just might take time. More eclipses. The new moon eclipse, the solar eclipse July 2nd will affect Leos, your 12th house. There's a possibility that you'll be having to support and nurture a loved one or get involved in an emotional situation which is not always comfortable for you during this time period, the July time period. Also, a chronic health condition could surface, or you feel the need to seek professional help. You can uncover some deeply buried emotional baggage, which you finally feel able to release. That's for Leos. That's the summertime for Leos. And that is the solar eclipse, where it's affecting the Earth. That's the chilly one. People are going to go there. You know, it's a big eclipse. It's a total one. Final eclipse of 2019 for Leos is December 26th in Capricorn. Capricorn, Cancer, coming up a lot. Excuse me.
Excuse me.
So this is for Leos, this is in the same place as the December 26th. Same place as the one in January. So issues again, health, your role in the job, health crisis concerning your pets. As I said, solar eclipse is affecting mostly Leos, but everybody else, because it comes into one, we all Leos someplace. Everybody has Cancer someplace in your chart. We're all part of all the 12 signs that I showed you here. Virgo. We can go through these more quickly because we've done some of these Mercury retrogrades, and Virgo's ruled by Mercury. Intestines are strong for Virgo. What you're absorbing. Virgo personality, practical and responsible, tends to enjoy helping others. They can be overcritical, has a hard time relaxing. Subtle in their actions and notices and remembers everything. Hates being teased unless they started it first. Virgos. It's almost always quick and alert. The major planetary activity for Virgos has been dealing with Neptune in Pisces, opposite, and this year this will affect those Virgos born the 7th to the 12th in September of any year. Neptune takes a long time. It only goes 3 or 4 degrees a year. So it stays opposite your sun's Virgos for quite a while, and it confuses you in terms of your partners. What's going on with my partner? But you can also fall mad when you love, because Neptune doesn't make you see all of the wrinkles. You only see the positive parts. There's an illusion. Here's the Neptune, God on the waters, you know, and here's the little Virgo. Uh-oh, you know, I'm climbed up here, and now I've got to deal with that imaginary God I've fallen in love with. You might also experience the effects of this transit, meaning it goes away, so in that you decide to have a more spiritual perspective and are willing to sacrifice your own needs to assist someone else in need. Your sensitivity will greatly increase this year, so be careful with whom you associate, Virgos. If you were born before the 7th of September, you've already had these experiences and they're fading away. And if you're born later than the 12th of September, they're coming. They're on deck. I talked about this before, the Virgo, the powerful trio of Capricorn planets. This is Martin Luther and what the power issues. The Capricorn stellium that's coming has an effect for Virgos and Virgo rising people in their 5th house of children and love affairs. So that's where they can, they can experience a shift in power, and it would have occurred since 2008 when Pluto went into the 5th house of children, your creations, so you might have taken on a brand new creative endeavor around then. Suddenly you've empowered yourself to take on a big project or something in your 5th house, where your relations with your children are going through transformations. That would be indicated here now for Virgo rising people, Virgo people. The effects might be to stabilize situations because you've taken on a lot more responsibility. It's important to understand that it's the taking on the responsibility that's going to make life easier for you. If you're avoiding responsibility, life gets harder. If you're not doing something that you know you should be doing, life gets harder. if you take on, and Saturn in Capricorn and Pluto in Capricorn are going to demand that each of us owns up to what they know in their hearts that they ought to be doing.
This is for all of us.
All of us, yeah. But Virgos have a nice relationship with Saturn and Pluto, so because it's Earth to Earth. It affects situations might stabilize. Creative. You maybe something you designed, like a new yoga pants or something, and they really took off, and they became a big sensation for Virgo rising people. That's a possibility in 2019 and in 2020 as well. So these are the Mercury retrograde periods. If you didn't write them down, take a picture of them now. This is true. This is for Virgos and Geminis. Mercury is your ruler. You honor your ruler. You know if between March 5th and March 28th that, especially in Pisces. Oh my goodness, because Pisces, Mercury does not do well in Pisces. Pisces is the two fish swimming in opposite directions. Mercury, it's very difficult. It's not supposed to be irrational. Pisces is not irrational, so we'll get into Pisces, but it's intuitive. So you can't use your rational mind, which Mercury likes to use. July 7th, October 31st. If you know nothing else, if you remember nothing else from tonight, if you get a little bit of, you understand as a sun sign or a rising sign, what you have, what your planetary ruler is, and when it's going retrograde. March 5th to 28th, market in Pisces. This is a retrograde. This talks about, I associated what we're doing, but we don't have, I'm going to go quickly through this. It's important to know when your Mercury, July 7th, we've been through these before. And do everything here, reconnect, reflect, re-edit, reassess, repair. Virgo loves to repair things. Renegotiate, revise, reconsider, rethink, review, retreat. And here's another, I think I put it up a couple times here, again, Mercury retrogrades, which affect Virgos and Geminis, because Mercury is your ruler. Mercury is your god, it's your lodestar. I'm not going to go into all these. Here's another picture of the zodiacal belt. Leo the lion and Virgo the Virgin, and they're lying next to each other. In this one, Saturn is in Libra. That's what we mean when we say Saturn's in Libra. Saturn is in front of the part of the zodiacal belt called Libra. Libra and Libra rising. Libra is one of the four signs that's affected by Uranus. Uranus, Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, Capricorn and Cancer. And this will affect you for Libra rising. Anybody Libra rising? Well, we can no Libra rising people here. Okay. Well, we can skip it. But that's a good picture for Libras trying to find in home, resting on the side of that and Capricorn, I love that one. But they have been shaken up, Libras, and sometimes our lives, because of Aries being an opposite sign, sometimes our lives have to be completely shaken up, changed, and rearranged to relocate us to the place we're meant to be. Libra, we're going to skip Libras. Okay, all right, okay. So like Taurus, your ruler is Venus. And as I said before, it does not go retrograde in 2019, so it's important. It begins 2019 in Scorpio and finishes finishing her retrograde cycle. And so, as I said before, with Taurus, there might have been changes in what you want that occurred last October and November when your ruler was retrograde. In what you want. What does a Libra want? You want more balance in relationships. Venus leaves Scorpio on January 7th and moves into Sagittarius, and this is time, that's why I put a Treasure Island map up here. It's a time to take a trip for you Libras. Take an adventure. Go see your sister in Dallas. February 3rd, Venus moves into Capricorn. March 1st, moves into your 5th house of children, love affairs, creative pursuits. That's a good time for you to have fun. March 1st to March 26th. It moves into Pisces in your 6th house of work and health. You can get a see, I came to repeating the same things over and over again because the planets are orbiting around the sun, and they go from one sign to the next. And each of us has a 6th house. You have a relationship with your service and your health, and your health regime and how committed you are to your daily routine. Is it possible for you? Or is that where you begin? If you've got Aries on the cusp of your 6th house, and you won't notice until you get your chart done, what sign is on the cusp of that department of life. But if you have Aries on there, you start with your daily routine. You start the day with your running, your 5-mile run. Here's March 26th, Venus into Pisces, 6th house. April 20th, Venus is in Aries, begins a new relationship or watch sparks fly in an existing one. May 15th, Venus moves into Taurus. It meets the planet of surprises. May 15th, there'll be some surprises. This is Venus's.
So it's the same for Taurus and Libra?
Yes, but it's not going to affect you in the same area of your life. But the changing of the planetary, when the planet changes signs, is the same. It's always going to be July 3rd, but it's not going to affect Libras and Taurus is the same way.
But it's Venus rules both of those.
Yes, yes. The Venus in Taurus is the Earth Mother. Okay, the gardener, the one who likes to sit on the couch and eat bonbons, who enjoys the pleasures. They're very sensual. Taurus is a very sensual sign. You're earthbound, But Libra is the justice. It's the scales, Libra, and it's the balance. And I want a relationship, somebody I can talk to. I want a one-on-one. I want fairness in relationships. It's a different aspect of Venus, but they're both valid. So July 3rd, July 27th, move into Leo, and August 21st, Virgo is the sign receiving the attention of Venus. This is where behind the scenes, this is maybe when secrets come out in August 21st, around when Venus is in their 12th house of behind the scenes. Maybe some inner reflection here. And at that point, September 14th, Venus moves into Libra again. You always feel better when Venus enters the sign that it belongs in. Venus belongs in Libra, it rules Taurus. And those months of the year when Venus is in those signs are the happiest times for you. Venus is, so that would be September 14th to October 8th. Focus on your finances. November 1st, moving to Sag. We just had that in the beginning of the year when it was with Sag again, because Venus takes goes around the sun in a little more than a year. November 25th, Venus is in Capricorn, and your home life becomes important. December 20th, Venus is in Aquarius, your 5th house of children, love affairs, creative pursuits. Scorpio rising. So Scorpio rules the gonads and the sexual organs and the lower chakras and this is what this is. And there's the symbol of the scorpion. Determined, forceful, powerful, magnetic and dynamic, compulsive and obsessive, secretive, creative, and inventive. So Scorpios are most affected by 2019 by the arrival of Uranus in your opposite sign on March 7th. This will begin a 7-year period when situations with your spouse or business partners will be undergoing some surprising changes. It's not going to affect every Scorpio right away. It's only going to affect those in the very first 4 or 5 degrees of Scorpio. That means, I think I put a date on here when that would be. But the November Scorpios will wait until the following year. So this is the Scorpios born in October of any year. They're going to feel the effects of Uranus right away. Uranus, it's going to affect those Scorpios when there'll be changes in their situations with their partners, business partners. The Saturn and Pluto conjunction are beneficial to Scorpios, bringing opportunities, especially in regards to new courses of learning or writing projects. but these are just opportunities and must be seized. Uranus is moving in the opposite sign from Scorpio. It's going to stir up Scorpios. Awakens authenticity, shattering restrictions and limitations. This may be something happens with your partner. There's some surprises with him, and this is true. This for 2019, only with those Scorpios born in October. But you begin to know if you're, oh my goodness, something's, might be behind the scenes. But when a planet as big as Uranus, it takes 84 years to go around and only changes the sign every 7 years. When it enters that sign, it did, last May, it was in Taurus for a little while, May to last summer. So these early October Scorpios probably had an inclination of what was going to happen. And now Uranus is back again. It's going to stay in Taurus for 7 years. So here we have Mars again, like Aries. Aries is ruled, Scorpio is ruled by Aries. Aries and Scorpio are ruled by Mars. So these dates are the same as they were, but the effects in your life will be different. Where they're affecting, where Mars changing signs. Remember we said that right on New Year's Eve, Mars went into Aries. So this will affect Scorpios as well. But it's instead of the first house and your own particular dynamism, that you can actually run in the freezing cold water. This time it's Aries. Yeah, it is in your sixth house of work and health and service and what you're doing for other people. Your February 12th is Mars is changing signs. Remember, Mars is also one of those planets like Venus that went retrograde in 2018, and things were, as I said in the beginning, with Aries, were really backwards. Had a difficult summer, most Scorpios and Aries people, because any kind of initiative that you want to take might have backfired, and there was no clear way forward. So this is Mars changing sign. I mean, I'll just mention that, but it moves into Taurus February 14th. And then March 31st, it moves into Gemini. Take care of personal finances, investments, relations with your business partners, or maybe you decide to do some research project. May 15th, Mars changes signs again. You could get the pattern. Mars is changing sign. Planets are moving. You have to either take a trip or start a long-distance course of study. July 1st, Mars enters Leo. Your career takes center stage. If you're retired and no longer have a career, then maybe you are engaged in a community or church activity. You have to put more effort into whatever you're doing. This is an important area of your life where where your recognition and status are highlighted. Mars can be problematic if you were born during the day. So watch your talk, that you don't get too many arguments, because Mars people, we have a Mars president right now, and he's Mars on the ascending sign. He's got Mars in Leo. He's a very, if you want to understand what a Mars person is, then there are other people that would take it out in running marathons, August 18th, Mars moves into Virgo. October 4th, it moves into Scorpio, and then the 19th, it moves in, October 4th is a quieter time for Scorpios when relationship matters that you've been keeping secret begin to weigh on you. It's a good month to seek a therapist. And November 19th, Mars in Scorpio. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Going to.
No, it just seemed so pleasant, and then it was like, yeah, it's a good month to seek a therapist.
Well, it changes. If you're, maybe one or a couple of you will actually follow this around, and you'll see. It'll confirm your belief in astrology, and it's supposed to be. It's a help for all of us. It's not a religion. It's not it's just supposed to be a help. It's confirming for you. I showed you this before. Sagittarius. We only have three more. We're going over time. I'm sorry to keep you. So we'll go through these quickly. Honest and straightforward Sagittarius. Intellectual, philosophical, careless and irresponsible, enthusiastic, optimistic, and freedom-loving. Sagittarius sun sign. The lucky sign this year. Hey, that's why I'm so happy for Sagittarius. You get the once every 12 years, Jupiter moved into Sag in November. You know, it's enthusiasm. And, you know, if you look at, you understand, you know, this is, and I go to the Episcopalian Church, and it's Advent time. And we talk about John the Baptist in the Gospels. You know, that's what's happening. And it's this hope that Christ is coming. And that's really Sagittarian. That's really what Sagittarius is about. There's always this sense of hope. Like I said in the beginning, you know, after the elections, for some people there was a sense of hope. And now, because Jupiter moved in, Jupiter's the biggest sign, it's the biggest planet. That picture of Jupiter, he's big, he's fat. Jupiterian people are big.
He's Santa Claus.
Yes, he's Santa Claus. He has full of boxes, and he's full of packages and presents for everybody, gifts. He brings the goodies. So, and he said, who's the Sagittarius here? Great. You have Sag rising. Yeah. So this is your year to expand, your year to get bigger. Watch the weight gain. But your year to take opportunities. Weight gain. The last time Sag was in your sign was November 25th, 2006 to December 19th, 2007. You have to wait for 12 years before you get another time when Jupiter is in your sign. Okay? That's how important it is to take advantage of these things when this group knows Jupiter's in Sag. Now we all have Sag someplace in your chart. There's some area of your life which is going to explode this year, where you're going to have the benefits.
But how long is Jupiter there?
1 year.
Only for a year.
Only a year. Everyone gets a burst of enthusiasm and increase until December 3rd, when Jupiter's going to go into Capricorn, and that's a big downer. So, yeah. So take advantage of this, but there's always a flip side. You know, there's always, you know, you can get too big on your, you know, addictive behaviors too. You can go too big in your fanciful thinking, you know. So, but those born November 23rd to December 17th, any year will feel it first. And because Jupiter is going to December 7th, 17th, they're going to be the luckiest people, the people born December 7th to the 17th. Anybody here born December 7th to 17th? Because Jupiter's going to pass over their suns 3 times, not just once. That's a rare occurrence, you know. Jupiter will, you know, maybe a week, they'll stay right on your sun in the same degree as your sun. But it's going to, 3 times. It's big. Anybody, the folks born December 7th to 17th. Yeah. Celebrate. Jupiter promotes generosity, goodwill, and a sense of adventure. This is time for expansive growth. Be on guard for overindulgence. Dream big, think big, do big. The only you know, caution here is that Jupiter is going to be coupled with Neptune, the planet of spirituality, but also the saint of the drunkard, Neptune. You know, so there's going to be a desire to escape, and you can either escape to the movies or your prayers or one of your addictive behaviors. Fantasy, yeah, Neptune can rule fantasy, but it also really connects spiritual. You know, your spiritual life, your meditation, your yoga practice, your prayer life, your chanting life, your work in your choir, in church, your church life. However you commune with the invisible is going to expand this year. For some people, it will be, you know, the bottle, but for other people, it will be, you know, there'll be a pursuit that will take them to a higher level, take them to, you know, so that they don't get so worried about what's going on in the, you know, in their world. Or Neptune elevates. Jupiter expands whatever it nurtures, and Neptune can either enrapture or deceive. Because that's the other part of Neptune, usually, the self-delusion and fantasy and lies. Sagittarius, Capricorn planets affecting your house of material and spiritual resources. So for Sagittarius, getting together with your possessions, what you possess is going to be highlighted in 2019 and 20 when the planet's in Capricorn. It's like deciding, okay, I have this talent. It's the tangible and intangible assets that you own for Sagittarius that you could really kind of have to get a grip on, you know, because the planets that are in Capricorn are affecting your second house of money, your resources, what you've got in the bank. But it's not only the material resources, it's the talents and the gifts that you've been given that you can use. And you're going to have to, okay, I've got to shore up this. I own this. You know, I have a talent for cutting hair. I have to make a living out of that. You know, there's a recognition of the things that you possess is what's important for Sagittarius in 2019. And because the power is shifting here in the second house of your finances, and perhaps you notice a slow but steady transformation of what you do to make a living as you are becoming more realistic about your gifts and talents. Take pride in how far you have come, this is Saturn, and have faith in how far you can go, this is Jupiter. We're very lucky in 2019. Saturn is in Capricorn, loves to be in Capricorn. That means the boundaries are set. And Jupiter is in Sag. I have my faith and optimism that both those two social planets are in very good, it's called zodiacal state. If you have those in your natal chart, you never have to worry about any material problems at all. That you have planets that are in the signs that they love to be in. It's a real asset. And next time, when you decide what your life is going to be when you're upstairs and want to know, you request. I'm definitely requesting Jupiter in Sag. I have Jupiter in Capricorn, and I'm going to request a Jupiter in Sagittarius. You know, but you can't. That's the deal here. You know that okay. I want this benefics. I want not to have to work for my faith and work for seeing the glass half empty. I would see it. You know, I see it half full. Hope.
I have Jupiter in Sagittarius. I'm 7 years old and still working, so didn't work for me.
Well, you must have other things. You must have Saturn dulling all that down. Yes.
My Saturn is
Yes, not a good placement for it. But here's the expansion from April 10th. Jupiter's going to go retrograde April 10th to April 11th. So watch your expansion. Then you might experience decisions. You know, expand. Oh, I didn't really want to do that. You know, this is its retrograde time. Jupiter appears to go backwards, so you have to redo. Jupiter's moving this way. It's a parent path. It's changing its orientation to the sun. It started on this side of the sun, and then it's going to end up on this side of the sun. And watch the expansion during that time. Won't be as nice as I'm promising for the rest of the time. Capricorn. You can see the horns of this is a sea goat, and the fish. It's the representative of Capricorns because they have a huge range. You know, they climb the mountains and they can go into actually in the bottom of the sea. Traits and qualities, generally introverted and often very self-conscious of themselves. Likes to appear cool and collected, but is actually quite moody inside. Typically self-contained and strong-willed, and hates looking weak. Resourceful and enjoys creating things that have a practical use. Cannot stand restrictive authority. You want to take responsibility at an early age. No question about it, Capricorn's in the hot seat this year and will be through 2020. Starting last December, Saturn entered your sign. Last time it was there was 30 years ago, November 88 to February 91. So because Saturn takes about 30 years, 29 and a half years to go around, you can look back on what was going on in November 88 to February 91 and understand what this passage of Saturn, it's 2.5 years, it's going to be in Capricorn. There will be repetition of those events. Saturn works better when we're older and have learned that taking responsibility makes life easier. Saturn rewards, but it also denies and postpones. Saturn will make you work for what you earn, not being comfortable with given things on a silver platter. If you've got Capricorns, and you all have Capricorn someplace, there's some department of life where things are slow and I have to earn everything and I have to take more responsibility. Here's the judge, weighing things, and obviously a little upset. Here's Capricorn. Neptune is making a harmonious aspect to Capricorn, softening those, especially for anybody born 5th to 7th this year, for any year for 2019. Uranus is going to make a nice aspect to Capricorns born December 21st to 26th any year, when he moves in March 7th, not right now. Saturn really goes retrograde. Remember when Saturn, both and the next sign, Aquarius, are affected by Saturn when it goes retrograde. Saturn is a slow-moving planet. Okay, and when it goes retrograde, it's standstill. So if you have Capricorn rising or Aquarius rising, note that those April 10th to all next summer, April 10th to September 18th, you're going to be wondering what it's all about and how come I can't make anything happen in real life. Because Saturn rules your reality. It's what's actually you're doing in your life. What's happening in front of you. Forward progress should be made at the beginning of the year and again in the fall. Summer we'll be looking backwards. This is the Capricorn, the goat. You can climb the mountain to the highest, but he can also be the ascetic, really sitting in the cave and with no need for any material resources whatsoever. Aquarius, same is true of Aquarius. In terms of Saturn, he's a water carrier. Here he is next to Pisces. Capricorn is over here, I think. Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, they go in order, He's the water carrier. He's an air sign, but he carries water. And water's an energy, vibes, energy, healing energy, vibes. It's not water, it's ideas. Aquarius traits, knowledgeable, future-oriented, inventive, humanitarian, charming, and likes meeting with people. Aquarius enjoys hanging out with friends and they love to surround themselves with good company. If you're thinking like everyone else, then you aren't thinking. Aquarius has a kind of a quirky, even though they're ruled by Saturn, they have a kind of quirky perspective on things. So Aquarius has to prepare for the 2021 when Jupiter and Saturn move into Aquarius. After Capricorn, I've talked a lot about Capricorn Cancers, but they're going to change signs in 2021. They start in December 21st, 2020. So Aquarius is getting ready for that. Like this year, we're all getting ready, okay? We're all getting ready. It's not here yet, but we're all, priming our pump, so to speak. So for Aquarius and Aquarius rising, anybody have Aquarius here? No. Aquarius rising. So the big planets Capricorn are in your 12th house. You're working behind the scenes. This is a kind of, that's the area that you might want to avoid looking at. It's a kind of closet. And there's a responsibility that's hanging in there that you want to put off as long as possible. But this year, and in all of 2020, you really, you have to kind of deal with it. Because there's going to be a lot asked of you in December 21st, 2020, because Jupiter and Saturn are entering that, and then Pluto is eventually going to enter there too, in Aquarius. Now, Pluto's here to change signs. Now that's a huge deal. So when we get three planets in Aquarius, So, but we're not there yet, but the Aquarians have a big role to play. Aquarius is about the community. It's about the moon. The United States has a moon in Aquarius. We are the land of the free and the melting pot, and Aquarius is fraternity, equality, brotherhood. Everybody equal. Just like the Declaration of Independence says. That's the ideal, and we're not there. We're only 250 years old, for heaven's sake, so we're not there. But the Aquarians have a big role to play in the future of what this country is going to be, is what it's about. And it's not only, it's about you, each individual you, joining with a group of people that you love to be with, but also those groups getting together, and making things happen, because multiple groups get together. What's happened this past year with all the groups forming, the kids from Florida, and the guns, and they went across the country and picked up a lot of other groups. Anyway, that's the Aquarian, that's the gesture for Aquarius. We're almost finished, Pen. Aquarius in 2019, whoops. Like Capricorn, your ruler Saturn goes retrograde, sorry. So remember that. Don't worry if things are, things are rocky then. This is a preparation time for a bigger role. Uranus enters Taurus on March 7th. This will affect Aquarians, especially those born January 21st to 26th in a year. The later Aquarians wake up in the years ahead, as Uranus takes 7 years in one sign before going into the next sign. So Jupiter, the planet of love and expansion, will be supporting you this year. You've got Jupiter in Sag, which is helping Aquarius. It's like, okay, what am I believing? What's my faith? what's my faith telling me that I should be doing? They'll have to keep the faith in themselves and keep feeling hopeful. Aquarius is about humanity, about a role, responsibility, and place in the cosmos. It's the only sign of the zodiac that's a human being. It's about humanity. All of, your Libra is the scales, and crab, and Cancer is a crab, but Aquarius is the human being, the potential of the human being. So it's really, it's about understanding our role, responsibility, and place in the cosmos. How important humans are. Understanding, we're probably only using, a fraction of our brain, Pisces, last sign, Pisces.
You keep saying it.
I do? Well, it's 12 of them. I thought I could skip half of them, but I can't. Pisces is the two fish that are tied together. One's looking up toward the heavens. I'm sorry, I know you're over. And one is looking down to the earth, materialism. Kind, sensitive, easygoing, imaginative, creative, self-pitying, dreamer, romantic, and easily influenced Pisces. Pisces have been have Neptune traveling through your sign since February 2012 and will be through March of 2025. So all Pisces. Anybody Pisces here? Pisces rising? Okay. So about halfway through. That means that those people born March 5th to the 9th of any year for this year will be strongly affected by Neptune on your sun. I have Neptune on my progressed sun. The United States has Neptune on their progressed sun. That means that we are in this world of self-deception, fraud, confusion, lies, fanciful notions, impressionability, longing to escape, addictions, both to drug and alcohol and a variety of others. Or brings the most Neptune can bring you the most blissful states where compassion can sacrifice, love, and devotion can manifest. There's an inclination to mysticism and artistic pursuits. So this group of people born March 5th to the 9th of any year are strongly influenced by Neptune. You don't know where you're going. The Neptune brings clouds. And it's a cloud where you kind of have to manifest what the other part of your life is going to be like, and you can't really see it. It's very frustrating if you've got a Neptune transit on one part of your chart, because it's fine if you're a photographer or something like that and working with images, and working in the artistic world. But for the reality world, it's very confusing. That's the minimum of it. And Neptune has been affecting Pisces because it's been in Pisces since February of 2012. This is the last slide, I think. But the good news is that should any of the traits of Neptune become out of balance this year with the ruler Jupiter and Sag, a distinct possibility. We said that before. Jupiter making things bigger, and these, this illusions and wanting to escape can increase this year with Jupiter and Sag. Saturn, Pluto, and Earth sign are supporting you, offering grounding, discipline to control the overtop urges. Use them this year to diminish the negative effects, the negative qualities. You're open to help from the spiritual world. I thought this was interesting, the two sides of our brain, the people sitting in the little boxes in the cubicles, and the other creative part of our brain that's open to all these other kind of impressions and these sensitivity and these ideas. Maybe it's not quite the end. It's almost the end. Discipline you take advantage of this year pertains mostly to those born 2nd and 11th, to the 11th. Will reap benefits in December when Jupiter comes into your 11th house of hopes and wishes. For Pisces, when Jupiter comes in, that in December, the 11th house is a great house. It's a house of hopes and wishes. It's what you get from your career. It's the benefits you get from your career. When you get a promotion, you get recognized by the king, and you get rewards, and it's your hopes and wishes. And again, Jupiter is moving backwards at April 10th to August 11th. Keep it in mind, it's a good time to review and take stock. Oops, I think that's it. I guess. What? It does? Okay, great. Sorry. Thank you so much for coming. I'm sorry I went over.
Oh, that's okay. That was great.